Hello, and welcome to Attunity RepliWeb Support Masters. I'm Andy Lepton, Director of Product Marketing for Attunity's RepliWeb division, and the purpose of these videos is to help you get the most out of your products by providing feature overviews, job settings, performance tweaks, and more. In this session, Eric Zissen guides you through all of the options available for setting up jobs to replicate files from your source server to a target. Usually, uploads are the primary types of jobs being set up when you first start using RepliWeb. Uploads, of course, are performed when you need to transfer files from a source system to a target, and depending on your needs, may just address replicating some files, or you may need to replicate an entire site, including IIS settings, assemblies, and all of the site's content. This video is an excellent primer for both first-time users and those looking to understand more about the available options.
Hello, my name is Eric Zissen, and I'm a Senior Solutions Architect at Attunity with the RepliWeb division. Today, I'm going to provide a demonstration on how to create an upload job. Within this upload job, we will discuss source and target designations, scheduling options, and certain properties. To create an upload job, you would log into the RepliWeb console, passing a set of credentials. Within this process, I will create a job. This will be a website I call site3.com. I will browse locally on my machine, on my center server, for where the source files are. In my case, it's going to be under inetpub www.root site3.com. I will specify a file server target, which in my case is going to be a server I call Carl3. I will pass a set of credentials for Carl3. In this case, it's a service account. And this service account has the necessary rights to do all types of file-based replication. It has read and write credentials on the target. And I will be maintaining source directory folder structure to the target. For the most basic type of upload job, I have everything I need. I specified a source folder on my center. I specified an edge, which I'll be replicating to. I specified a set of credentials, which I'll be using for the scope of the replication, as well as a target folder. I'm going to talk about some of the properties, additionally, that are available within this job. Some of the information you might want to consider is which type of synchronization logic you're going to use. In my case, I'm going to use mirror logic, which will replicate new and modified files from the source to the target, and delete any files from the target that are no longer part of the scope of the replication, creating a true mirror. Alternatively, if I need to aggregate data, or the target may have more files than what the initial code set is on the source, I would consider using backup logic. Some additional features I have are to configure which type of transfer engine I'm going to use within the scope of this replication. We have three transfer engines: the LAN transfer engine, the WAN transfer engine, and the large file accelerator. The LAN transfer engine has been specifically engineered for high availability, high throughput network connections, and its job is to move the files from the source to the target server as efficiently as possible with as little network chatter as possible. The only granularity we have here is what's called the maximum number of concurrent transfers. In this case, the default is set for 3. So under the scenario that our snapshot process runs and identifies 1,000 files that need to be updated between the source and the target machines, rather than opening up a single TCP session, I can open up multiple parallel transfers between the center and the edge to more efficiently utilize the network to move the files as quickly as possible. However, if I need more granularity or have other needs such as SSL encryption, MD5 and CRC checksum analysis, or to do differential transfer, or perhaps share this pipe with other users or application and need to take bandwidth considerations into scope, I would use the WAN transfer engine. The WAN transfer engine has additional features like compression, bandwidth limitation to an absolute value, or a relative value. Use 33% of the available bandwidth. Or perhaps a time-based bandwidth expression where you could set up a criteria that says if this replication runs between 8 and 5 p.m. to use 15%. And if the replication occurs between 5:01 p.m. and 7:59 a.m. to use 85%. This gives you the unique ability to be time conscious and bandwidth conscious when you're sharing the pipe with other users or applications. Additionally, we have the ability to do differential transfer, only moving the change 64K block within a file as opposed to whole file replication, as well as SSL encrypting the transfer and doing an MD5 and a CRC checksum analysis. The third transfer engine that we have available to use is called the large file accelerator. The large file accelerator is specifically engineered for high availability, high throughput network connections, and is typically used on files such as VMDK files or larger digital media assets, where these files are larger than 1 gigabyte in size. So not only do we have the features of multiple parallel transfers of individual files, but we can chunk up each file into its own parallel transfer stream. So in the example, using a 1 gigabyte file, we can chunk each one of these files into 10 transfer processes in parallel. At the same time, moving 100 megabytes in parallel for each one of the 10 components and then reassemble those files at transfer. Of course, we have differential transfer, SSL encryption, and an MD5 checksum analysis as well. Some additional features that we have would be IIS configurations, COM+.NET, as well as config transformations if you need to overwrite certain files within an XML file such as a web.config file. More information will be provided on this in another video. The last portion of this I'm going to talk about is notification. We have early warning notifications in case a job goes into an error status, as well as on completion notification. An example of on completion notification might be report via email to the owner of the job and include what we would call the general report, which is a synopsis of all processes, and perhaps the transfer reports of all files that were transferred. More important than letting the owner of the job know that his job was successful and here's a list of the files that were transferred would be who to notify in case this job encountered an error. An example of this might be your operations team. And once again, including the general report. The reason I say including the general report is because not only will this synopsis include all processes that have occurred within the scope of this job, but it'll be what our support team will ask you in case we have to do any root cause analysis to any type of replication errors. So it's a good idea to be proactive and have this information beforehand. The last thing I'm going to discuss with you today is what we call job tagging. Job tagging allows you to assign certain bits of metadata to a file for filtering processes. An example being, since this is for site3.com, I might add a new tag for websites and a subtag for site3.com. This will allow me to filter it based on my Browse by Tags feature over here. The last part of this equation is job scheduling. A job can be scheduled to be run once and run now, or run once at a specific time and date. A job can also be set to sit on a recurring schedule, perhaps by this setting every 2 hours, or to run daily at specific times, or multiple times. Run weekly on multiple dates, or to run on the existence of a trigger file. We also have the option to do real-time replication, where we're going to be monitoring the source folder for I/O, and anytime end-of-file flag has been recognized by the operating system, we will replicate those changes out from the source to the target in near real time. What I'm going to configure today is called Run on Demand. This will allow the RepliWeb administrator to assign the job to a group or an authorized user. An authorized user might be Eric's Attunity domain credentials, or perhaps a local user, Eric, or perhaps any member of the Attunity developers group. When enabled, this job now is an on-demand job. We will see that this job is set for scheduling, set to be on demand, and can even browse by authorized users or groups. This job is ready to be submitted when the criteria has been met. If you have any questions or need any additional clarification or information, please feel free to contact support@repliweb.com. Thank you very much and have a great day.
We trust that you found this session helpful, and we encourage you to review all of the other Support Master videos to help you get the most out of your Attunity RepliWeb products. For future reference, please bookmark attunity.com/supportmasters and check back often for more episodes. If you would like to see a Support Master video regarding a specific use case, please feel free to send your request to repliweb@attunity.com. If you have additional questions or need assistance with any of your data transfer challenges, please contact us or visit us on the web at attunity.com.